Listen up. We are back with another episode of the Construction Mentor Podcast. My name is Ike. I am your host. What are we here to do? We're here to promote the construction industry. We want everyone to know that the construction industry is the place to be. Why? Whatever you want your life to look like, whatever that car is you want to drive, whatever that house looks like, how many kids you have, what your vacations looks like, it's all achievable in construction. There's so many career paths that people are not aware of, whether it's a trade, whether it's the office, whether it's design. We're here to promote those. We like to bring people in to talk about their career, how they've found success, and some of the things that they've gone through along the way. And if you're already in the industry, we want to share the mentorship. We want to give you the tools that you need to take your career to the next level. And today, we have a guest who has had me on their show before. We have one of the hosts from the Dope and Tape show. And if you're on the video feed, you can actually see, I was just saying, this super cool neon sign that he has above his head. I feel like I have to get one. But welcome, Brian Williams. Brian, how are you?
Dude, hey, we've been friends for a couple of years now and it's just now coming in. But I want to let you know, I'm a huge fan. I believe in what you're doing. I love it. It's motivating. And keep doing it, dude. What is that 3 a.m. bike ride in the garage with your laptop?
I'm always trying to find a way to push it. I think you're a father too, right? And
Yeah, I am.
I mean, we just did an episode with Garrett Davis a few episodes ago about fatherhood and construction. I'd love to hear some of your takes on that as we get into your path. But every second counts, man. So you just gotta find a way.
Dude, I know.
So it's hard. But Brian, why don't you tell people, other than being a host on the Dope and Tape show, what you do and what Dope and Tape means, because a lot of people probably don't understand that unless you do what you do.
Yeah. All right. So currently, as far as professional, career, I am in fire protection, mainly in the fire sprinkler side. I was with a contractor for over 16 years. About a decade of that was as an inspector, a fire sprinkler inspector that also did fire alarm and backflow inspections. And I think that was the best job ever in the entire world. And now I am the director of business development for ARCO, which is a fire sprinkler manufacturer. So that's really fun. That's kind of I wanted to expand outside of being a contractor. And with the Dope and Tape show, I was able to go to like expos, conventions, and all that, and really see this other side that I never seen. And I was like, oh, well, I want to work there and see what this is at. So it just started with curiosity. I'm blessed to have the position that I am. It allows me to be very involved and kind of flexible in whatever I want to do. And also, I am one of the hosts of the Dope and Tape show. So, as your question permits, the Dope and Tape. So, when you put in fire sprinkler piping, people live and die by this. So, it's either you put dope and then tape, or tape and then dope. So, we do Dope and Tape because me and my co-host, we both doped and taped our pipe. And the reasons why is because it keeps the dope moist, especially if like your apprentice gets over jealous and kind of makes all these different drops ahead of you, and then you have to leave it till the next day. And then it's also way cleaner because you're putting tape over it. So that's why we go with tape and dope. But some people do it the other way and they swear by it, and that's how they were taught. And so it's kind of like a little playful thing with the industry that we're covering.
This is a bad analogy or comparison, but I feel like that's like when you smoke a brisket, like some people go fat up and some people go fat down. Everyone just kind of has their own way that they go about things.
Ooh.
And there's like a preference, right?
What's yours?
On the brisket or the Dope and Tape?
On the brisket. On the brisket.
I have no opinion because I dry it out every time I do it. So I suck.
You might not be wrapping it. I think that's the trick. I only did it once, so I'm not really one to say anything.
You know what? I'm really good at eating it, and I live in Texas now. And man,
Texas has best barbecue.
Yeah, so I'll just leave it to the pros.
Every city I go into, I try their barbecue, and guys, please forgive me. This was a long day, but I think I was in Virginia. I could have been in Baltimore, but either way, Baltimore, Virginia. I tried some barbecue at 2 different places. It wasn't it. It was
No,
wasn't
no, they got to stick to crab cakes. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so you touched on something, and we're gonna hit the rewind button. We're gonna go back to what little Brian was like back in the day before,
Oh,
long
totally
before
different.
he was a podcast host. But he touched on a few things in the industry, right? So obviously he knows the trade, and everyone knows what contractors are and subcontractors and sprinkler fitting, so fire protection. Those are the pipes. When it's Halloween. So if you've seen Hocus Pocus, that's when he takes the when he takes the lighter and he sets off the sprinkler and all the water comes down and it's supposed to put out a fire, right? And then he was an inspector, and I think everybody knows what an inspector is, right? That's the government, that's the city, that's the authority holding jurisdiction, the AHJ, as they say. Coming in and giving you permits and then approving what you've installed so that people can move in. But I don't think that people know, when we're talking about career opportunities in construction, a lot of people don't understand what it is to work for a manufacturer or a sales rep or anything like that. Can you shed some light on exactly what ARCO does and what different roles are at a manufacturer for somebody that maybe came up through the
Mhm,
trades or even with a mechanical
mhm.
engineering degree? Because I think you could get in there both ways, right?
Yes, yes, you can. I got in there through building my personal brand, just like you have your show and you're building your personal brand. I did not know that at the time. I figured that out as I started doing the Dope and Tape show, and then magically this gave me value. Um, so then I was able to do some interviews and then get in with the manufacturer. Now I've done sales. I've taught sales classes. So as far as selling, it's nothing new to me, and so I bring that into the business development side of the manufacturer. But a manufacturer, you have to deal with so much. Especially, I'll touch on last year. I grew the the international sales mainly in Latin America for Arco, significant amount, and I did that by using what I've always done in the contracting space. It all comes down to relationships and partnerships, and then you also have to, like this year. Holy crap, dude! The tariffs. The manufacturing world is tough right now. Is you don't know when to buy, what to buy, or when Trump is gonna raise the tariffs, or he's using it as like bargaining chips. He throws it out there, 100% tariff, and then he gets what he wants. He's like, okay, okay, we're gonna calm down, and you gotta buy at the right time, and then you have to worry about landing costs. So, like, where is the product actually coming, and how much is that landing cost? And so, there's a lot of logistic that goes into manufacturing, not just the materials.
What kind of things are they manufacturing? Is it pipe? Is it fittings? Is it pumps?
Yeah. So
Heads?
fittings. So we have our own brand of fittings. We have our own brand of hangers, beam clamps. We have, which I am, my favorite thing is our innovative tool line. So the entire time I was in the field as an inspector or as a fitter or operations, it's been the same tools forever. Like, it's never changed. Uh, so there's a thing that's called a whirly bird. You make that. You make that out of unistrut and all thread, and it's supposed to fit in the middle of a grid ceiling to give you the perfect center. And then you'll use that all thread to line up your drop to come down with the sprinkler head, right? So
So yeah, what he's
now,
talking,
yeah,
if I could just
yeah,
break
go
it
ahead.
down from a different angle, if you're ever in like an office building and you see those grid ceilings, it looks like a checkerboard and it has like those foam looking tiles, right? You might notice, if you have a good fitter, uh, that they're always in dead center of the tile, right? That's basically what you're talking about. So
Exactly.
no matter
Yes.
what you're landing it in, you need to make it easy, basically, for people to know where dead center is, so that they can move on to the next and the next and the next.
Right. So given that example, now Arco has a tool that's it's a 2-foot level, and then instead of the all thread, now you have a laser. And then if you're going to change out concealed sprinkler heads, it's the ones with typically the white plates that come out. They're attached with glue that detaches at 115 degrees, and then the sprinkler head will drop down.
Hmm.
And then typically, on average, it's probably going to be like 150 degree, 155. Um, so then it'll pop, right? Then it'll dispense water. But the thing is, when you go to extract those concealed heads, they each manufacturer has their own wrench. Now that wrench can be up to like $400 a piece. So we created a universal head wrench to take out any sprinkler head from semi-recessed, concealed, pendant, sidewalls, all the different orientations that they have. We also have a groover. Groover's amazing. Groover grooves true 1 to 12 inch with an extension bar, so you can push the carriage back on the threading machine and then get the grooving. Um, there's so much stuff, like, and we're continuing to innovate and bring more things to the market.
So I think one of the skills that I always tell people, there's a few skills no matter what industry you're in will separate you from everybody else, and one of them definitely is the ability to sell. And I think your path is really interesting because there's a lot of people that they jump in sales careers and all they know how to do is sell, but they'll do the best to learn the product, but they don't actually really know, what it's like to be on your knees, turning a wrench, or like in some of Bobby's videos, how he's like up in a ceiling and his head's
Yeah,
like turned in like a tight space and he's barely got any room to
dude, I've
play a
been there.
violin. And you've been there. Talk to me about who you're selling to, right? Like, are you selling to contractors? Are you selling to engineers, and why? And how does your ability, maybe not as somebody who graduated college, but somebody that's been in the field, been an inspector, make you the ability to do business development and sell, better than the next guy?
Well, like I said, I was in the field for a long time, and that gives me. So basically, when you're selling anything, you're buying anything. Just think about the car that you bought, or anything else that you bought that might even be significant um, of a price. It all comes down to feelings. Well, if I'm able to, it's an emotional purchase with anything you do, right? So because I was in the field, I'm able to tell stories. Because I did operations with a contractor, I'm able to talk business and I can relate. And sometimes I give pointers of what my opinion is and give some options that they could do internally to maybe make better profit. And then that builds my value in a person and what I'm selling. And then I tried to pitch it in a way that would bring value, and they can emotionally see it in their mind. And that's kind of how I approach all sales.
So, and that's like to a contractor. Do you guys ever sell to an engineer or design team to have your product spec'd out, or get an
Um,
approved spec list or anything like that?
no, it's typically our stuff is open spec.
Okay.
Arco kind of keeps a lean ship,
Hmm.
keep overhead low, keep profitability high. And that's kind of the model we go to. We mainly sell to contractors. We go direct to contractors, and that helps contractors save money. For example, if I'm in a contractor like a fire sprinkler contractor, and they give me a quote of a job that they just spec'd out and had quoted from a fabricator, a distributor, because the fabricator or distributor is going third party, so they have to mark it up from what they just bought it, and then they'll mark it up to you again because they got to make money now. Well, the manufacturer going straight from Arco, there's no middleman. You get our price. And then believe it or not, it's so easy to sell because it's normally like 20% difference in
Wow.
price. Yeah, huge. I mean, I could essentially be part of your 2026 financial plan, just by switching to us, So, uh, so yeah, it makes it easy. But yeah, that's a huge difference.
So that's incredible. I think that, when you talk about career growth, one of the main comments in my comment section that I always get is like, you know, oh, a career in the trade is great, but you're going to have a broken back and you're going to die early and, all this stuff.
Uh,
And it's like a lifetime of labor and you're going to be held down by the man and you're going to be working hard to make somebody else rich. And it's like, okay, well, wait a minute. There's career growth in construction just like there is in
yeah,
any other career path. And you could go up into management, you could go into estimating, you could go into sales and business development. And that's what business development is for anybody who hasn't caught on. That's quite literally the two words: growing the business or developing the business, growing the business, whether that's to new markets, to new clients, higher revenue, higher profit, whatever that looks like, right? It's business development in the true definition of the word. And you don't necessarily need a college degree to do it because
I do not have one.
you do not have one. And that's
No.
because the best way to sell is to appeal to somebody's emotions. And the best way to appeal to somebody's emotions is tell a story that they relate with. You could tell a story about what it's like to be on top of a ladder and to be in a bent and awkward situation, or to, roll up to a job site and not have the right wrench, or not have the right
Right.
stuff in your van to do something. And then you're kind of,
Yeah.
up the creek without a paddle, as they say. I just was in a meeting today with, can't say the company, but we've all heard of them.
Right. Of
They're one
course.
of the big Fortune 500 companies out there. And they were telling me about their problems across their national, portfolio. And I immediately got them to open up to me to start telling me about their business and how they operate, because I was able to tell a story from my other clients and kind of get them to say, like, do you feel this? Does this sound
Right.
familiar to your story and your pain points and the way that you operate? And oh yeah, and I hate when this happens. And what I really
Yeah.
just need
Yeah.
is to move faster, and it's not even about price. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, you're willing to pay a premium if I can move faster and give you quality and love and attention. That's great. I can do that. Just like you said, like if we can all make more money, like that's awesome.
Yeah.
But it's all about storytelling. So what I want to do, and this is what a good segue. Let's tell your story. So let's go back to little Brian Williams. I think you grew up in the Georgia area, or I know that's where you
Yeah.
live
I've always
now.
been in Georgia. Yeah. I was a wild kid. I got kicked out of 5 schools.
So
Yeah.
many people come in this podcast and they're like,
Bro.
"Yeah, I got kicked out of school." All right,
Yeah. I didn't want to, I like what they were doing. Hence, I didn't go to college, and I went to the trades because my mind wasn't set up for it, and then I had I don't know. I didn't have a short. My temper was fine. Just had a problem with disrespect in a way, So I got in plenty of fights. I ended up having I had a child. Um, Incredible, thing now. When I was 17, but man, it was hard. It was so hard. At the time, I was boxing and going to school, and then had like a little job or whatever. Uh, and then I would go hang pipe, sprinkler pipe when I was 15 and up in the summertime, just at my father's company. So I would go and learn the trade and all that. So when I graduated, I went full time into fire protection. I wanted to go straight into a contractor. I mean, the inspector. So let me correct you on the inspection part with me. So I was employed with a contractor, and then let's say a property management company or property owner will contract me to go and actually do the extensive inspection. What the authority having jurisdiction, which would work for the state or the city or yeah, state or city, um, they would go and look at my report.
got it. Okay, so you were a
Yeah,
consultant. You were like a QA
and
QC
essentially,
consultant.
yeah,
Okay, and that's super interesting. So I just want to like hone in on the high school portion, because I'd love to hear your opinion on this. I attribute a lot of the success in my career because of the exposure that I got to the industry when I was a teenager, as young as like 14 years
oh
old.
yeah,
Right.
oh
Talk,
yeah,
talk to me
absolutely.
about that and like where that's put you against your contemporaries starting at 15 hanging pipe.
Yeah. Well, now I could say, at 34 from Saturday was my birthday. I mean, I'm going on 17 years in the industry because I started so quickly. Uh, I was able to count that time with the wrench in my hand with my certifications. Even though I was underage technically to be on a job site and I was getting paid cash, it was basically like, all right, Brian. put on this safety vest and hard hat, go hang some pipe, and don't talk to nobody.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, because you're not supposed to be here.
Yeah, but it was the best. I mean, like Starbucks would give me, $7.25 minimum wage, and then I would go hang pipe for $12. It was a big difference back then. And I had to
Mm.
pay for diapers and all that. Of course, we had a lot of family help, so I wasn't expected to get my own house. And I wasn't kicked out of my house. So I had some support, and then 18 came. I went professional for several years in boxing, and
Wow.
then I would go hang pipe during the day. So I would get up early before. So typically, I leave for work, do construction at 5 a.m., and I would run from 4 to 4:30, change, go to work, hang pipe, uh, eat on the way home, and then go straight to boxing training. That was my life, and then it got to like boxing got to where that like I had to win, and that was the stress because I wasn't making much money. I got a house, I got a family now, um, and I had to fight for money. Like
Mm.
I had to look under couches, under beds, and see if I can pull out the refrigerator, see if there's like some change in the back just to pay the electric bill. That was
S-
how life was.
So that's super interesting, first of all. And you're not actually the first fighter that I've had on the show. I've had some bare knuckle boxers on the show, which I didn't even know was happening at the time. So it's just interesting. So I got a couple questions about that. First of all, did turning a wrench help you pack a punch?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, mainly hanging, pulling up the pipe, going up there with your shoulders and your forearms. Yeah, it's
Oh
a
yeah,
big difference.
yeah, for sure. Um, the other thing. So you did you finish high school or
Yeah, I did finish high school. That was the last of my grade school, and then in the state of Georgia, and in most non-union companies like fire protection companies, they get the certifications from a company or organization called NICET, National Institute Certifications of Engineering Technology, and I had a great mentor, my father, who was in the industry. I tried to go straight into being an inspector, but he's like, "No, kid, you got to go earn your stripes somewhere else before you come over here as Todd's son." So I went over and hung pipe at a foreman that used to work for my father, and it took me about. I got after it, dude. I got after my studies. I studied every day. My rule, and I later passed it down to my apprentice, is if if, if I'm riding, I'm reading the code book. Yeah. So if I'm riding, I'm reading, and if the foreman's driving, yeah, I'm riding.
that's
Uh,
an interest I've never heard that. That's awesome.
yeah. So then, I mean, I thought my apprentice thought I was like, a jerk because I'm like, all right, dude, we got a 2 hour drive. Get out your code book.
And
You know,
how old were you when you told him that?
with being an apprentice.
Yeah.
Jeez, maybe 31.
Okay. So I got to ask you, you said you were a problem child, right? And
Yeah,
you got in some fights and then you were fighting in the ring and that was all sanctioned. You were supposed to be fighting and you maybe
yeah.
struggled with, authority and maybe people disrespecting you, whether they were disrespecting you or
Or
whether
not.
you thought
Yeah.
they were disrespecting you
Right.
because you thought that, young guy full of piss and vinegar, you were hot shit and, nobody should fuck with you. Um, did something get you away from that mentality? Like, were you
Yeah,
were you a
when
problem
I had
child
a
all
child.
around? Did you just want to fight? And what was it that put you on the discipline path to get through being a journeyman and then an inspector and kind of take your career seriously and be disciplined about that?
Yeah, um I always wanted to fight. I still love fighting. For a time, um so I got divorced several years ago, and then I'm now remarried. But when I was dating my new wife, which we've been married for 2 years now, um I worked at a nightclub just for fun, just to throw down. And that was the thing. Like that was like, listen, guys. this is why I'm here. So if something needs to be done, please call me. 'Cause I don't want to waste my time by not doing anything. All right. I could care less about the money.
Hey, nothing. Whatever you got to do to let it
Yeah,
out.
yeah. So we got married. First weekend, it's a sold out, huge DJs coming in. I'm gearing up to go, and she said, "Where you going?" I said, I'm going to bounce." And she said, "No, you're not. Go put on some pajamas. You're done. We're married. Done." But I mean, she was right. I mean, I could handle whoever's in front of me, but I don't see their buddies behind me
Hmm.
with maybe a beer bottle or something worse, you know? So the big unknown and the risk was high, and I didn't really see it until she broke it down. But man, I had some fun. As far as when I changed my mentality is when I had my son when I was 17.
Okay, I find
That's when it started. It's like, okay, it's not about me. I got to take care of this guy, and this is what I'm gonna do. So it almost gave me a purpose, I guess you would say. Because before maybe I didn't. I was just wild.
so you had mentioned diapers earlier, along with being
Yeah.
a teenager, and I was wondering how to how to broach that subject. So I mean, what was that like? I mean, you're a teenager. Um, I'm sure you had a reputation, and I'm sure people were looking at you, and you got kicked out of school, and you're going towards the trades. You get somebody pregnant. You have a kid at 17 years old. What was that like for you when people around you were probably on the right path and going to college, and
Yeah,
that
yeah.
whole song and dance? How did you perceive that, and how do you perceive it now?
So back then, um, it was hard when I first got the news because especially for my family, because I was on the right path. I got, I was towards the end, I was getting my stuff together. I left alternative school, went back to a regular high school, and I was being okay. Like I got into one fight in 2 years. Like I was doing okay. I had a scholarship to Jacksonville State, Jacksonville, which is that's in Alabama, which is a Division II college for basketball. So I was rolling into the end of my junior year. Uh, they gave me a scholarship. I was looking to just go play there, do college. I was going to do business as my degree and see where the world takes me. But once they found out that I was having a child, they revoked um,
Oh wow, the school
the
revoked it.
yeah, they didn't want all that. They'll just go with someone else.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So that option was out the window. I couldn't afford college, and I couldn't. When I say I couldn't afford college, I couldn't afford the time because I had to work. Um, my then my then wife and mother of my child, she was going to school, and then she was like working when she can. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm the man, so I
Got to
gotta
go to
put
work.
food on the table. Yeah,
Got to
exactly.
turn
Yeah,
around, and the family business is a no brainer. So you
yeah,
go
right.
you go into turning a wrench. Um, Wow, that's incredible. I didn't know that. I didn't know that about you. How do you look back at that now? And let me tell you why I'm asking you. I think a lot of people, especially when I talk to young people today, they look at children as a huge burden, like your life is over.
Mm.
Even at an older age where people can handle it, it's like, oh, here it comes. Like your life's over now. You're having your first kid. And when people are young, they feel like they're supposed to either not have it. I mean, obviously, ideally, I don't think you'd advise your son to go get somebody pregnant at
No,
17, right?
yeah,
But like
no,
we
no.
all know that. But um, it also is a blessing, right? When it happens, and it's not a bad thing. And I think that when people get there's a notion out there that the younger you are, even if it's in your early 20s, bringing a baby on or becoming a parent means your life ends way too early. How do you, as somebody that's in their 30s now, and your son's probably a late teenager, probably the same age you were, how do you see
Yeah,
that
it's
now?
freaking awesome. It's like hanging out with your buddy.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah, great. Well, but back then, I had a mission, and that's what I focused on. So I didn't focus on anything else. I didn't think about what I was missing out all I thought about is what I needed to do. And I loved every minute of having him. And I would take that, having him, even during the struggle, like I loved every minute of it. I tried to make it go as slow as it could. And that was my life. And I was very happy. And I would take that over partying or going to college any day. Yeah, it was a struggle. And yeah, it was hard to get where I am now without any of the experiences in college and all that stuff. Is this college just education? And some jobs require college, even though they're starting to kind of get away from that a little bit now. But I was focused, and it wasn't. There was some times that I would talk to my wife, and she's an attorney, and she would talk about um, her college times and all these stories and stuff. And then when she's telling the stories, sometimes I'm like, man, what would it have been like? But maybe he saved me. You know, who knows where I would end up, especially how I was.
Well, and listen, part of we already established at the beginning that part of what made you who you are and what made me who I am is that we got on the curve early. And I think I tell people, I that's why I tell people, when they want to be lifeguards in high school. Somebody told me that, go be a lifeguard. Why? What is that skill going to turn into? What does that investigate about your life? Like, what is that going to teach you, or what is it going to give you exposure to? People want to go to college to get exposure and to find themselves. You find yourself by living your life and
Yeah.
getting experience. And like you said, and I know that you are a follower of God and you have faith, and sometimes you get not what you want, but what you need to send you down the path that you're supposed to go on. And it sounds like that's what your
Yeah.
son did for you.
Yeah. Well, that's what my son did. But as far as like following God, I've always like tried, but never really had a relationship. And it wasn't until about, I would say 3 years ago, when I started to open tape. I had like a falling out with a church prior. Um, and then I was trying to get back into it. And then that's really where I wasn't going to church. I had anxiety going to church because of a bad experience. And then I worked over that, and now I love church again. But I sat down with my Bible, and I watched sermons on YouTube. I did lots of Bible studies. I really got in to the Bible, and then now I have this incredible relationship with God. Any of my worries, I give it to him, so I don't have to worry about it. I trust him. I everything's, a blessing. Or if it's not, if it's something super bad, it's there for a reason, and God made that happen for a reason. So there's definitely something good coming out of it. It gave me a totally different perspective of life, and I strive every day to get more and more closer to him. Uh, Study him more, is the Bible's full of how you should live your life. I mean, it's textbook. It's right there. And I really wish I had that relationship a long time ago. But it's something I really had to like sit down and put time in.
Hmm.
And so even every single morning now, I'm still doing the same thing. I get out my Bible, it's next to my bed. I make coffee. I go back and sit in my bed. I watch a devotional, a guided prayer. I read my Bible, and I rock and roll. And it's the best thing I've ever done.
Listen, I love that. Similar path to you. Only about within the last 2 years or so did I start practicing faith, and this year start praying every day and all that stuff. Life's going to throw a lot at you, no matter what your career is, no matter when you decide to have kids, or if you don't decide to have kids, or whatever. And being able to have that support. Let me put it this way: what kept me away for a long time was the mechanical engineering me, right? Like, I have a mechanical engineering degree,
Right, right.
and like, I got to see it to believe it. There's a science to everything. You can't prove it to me. And what I related it back to, because I wholeheartedly agree with everything that you said, and that's how I see it today, and it's made my life better. But I was just sitting there one day, and I read a book called Mere Christianity, and this isn't in the book, but all of a sudden, like, a light bulb went off over my head, and I don't know if that was intentional or not. But if you believe in science and you take any prescription drug, there's no science to prescription drugs working. They try thousands of formulas. They come out with one that has a good batting average. right?
Hmm.
When you take this pill, these symptoms decrease 80% of the time, right? Or, they basically test a bunch of stuff. They do trials and they analyze the result and then they say, okay, this drug gives this result. You know what I mean? They can't predict it accurately. If they could, then they wouldn't need to do thousands of formulas. They would just do one and it would solve the problem, right? Well, if you look at all the people, almost everybody I've had on this podcast that struggled with addiction or homelessness or getting kicked out of school or, any kind of struggle in life that life threw at them that they didn't necessarily think was good for them at the time, or even people like Andy Frisella or Ed Milet, there are so many people that have taken the prescription of faith and had success and swear by it and not even necessarily evangelize for it, but they definitely advocate for it and the positive effect that you can have in your life. How many people have to take the prescription and get the result that you would love to have
Yeah.
before that's enough evidence, before that's a science for you to buy into? That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, obviously
I did.
this isn't a faith-based podcast, but we let it go where it goes. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's definitely, I can't say it's the greatest thing I've ever done because I've always tried to do this. I've just never had the relationship. Like I would read, I'll go to church, but then I really wouldn't actually devote myself to him and emotionally give myself, I guess you could say,
mhm.
like, um, and it wasn't until I made that step of like, all right, I'm really going to try to win. And then I would pray and ask him to have a relationship with me, ask him to bring, hold out his arms for me. And I still do it. And I'm still trying to get closer because now I got a taste and it's the greatest thing ever,
And do you think so? One of the bad stigmas about the industry. I want to talk about the stigmas and how maybe that can help,
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah,
it's a good
absolutely.
segue into your climb, up the ladder because we can take it from your high school late teens into where you are now in your
Hmm.
30s. But one of the bad stigmas is the stress in the industry, and that it's too hard, and the demand is too high, and everything moves too fast, and there's too much put on the guys in the field. You know, do you feel like more people could use faith to get through the day and to keep the eye on the prize and to keep a healthy
Yeah.
perspective about what they're doing and serving a purpose, like you said, with your son?
No, absolutely. You could pray for strength. And if you're a non-believer and you'd be like, okay, I'm just gonna ask for strength and I'm gonna get it. But it does kind of work that way. Like you ask for strength, just come on, help me, and and um and he will. And it's been crazy. Like I'll pray for things and then I have heard I've heard him say things to me, which is nuts, like answer a little bit and as clear as day, super clear, which is super weird. For example, for example, was the giving a good example of something that would be like, oh wow, is years ago, maybe 8 years ago. No, not even that long. Um, maybe 6 years ago. I was in church, I was in Bible study. They were doing this big event and giving away grills. So you buy a ticket and then you have a chance to win a grill. The entire church played, right? So we were praying and we're about to end. They're about to do the drawing, and God spoke to me, said, "Brian, you're going to win the grill." And I was like, I looked, I was like, "This is crazy." And I told a couple of people, and they told me it was crazy too. And then they were like, "Yeah, yeah, Brian, okay, okay," and then God told me I can't keep it. I have to give it away to like charity or something else. So I won it. I got down there. I won. I was the first one to win it, and then I told them I had to give it to charity. I told them the story. They looked at me like I was crazy, but that's what happened.
And do you know where it went?
I have no idea.
No
I don't
idea.
know. No.
Hopefully I'm sure it went to somebody that needed it more than you
Yeah,
did.
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, I had a pellet smoker, so I was like, I was fine. But yeah, yeah, I just asked them to give it to someone who needs one.
And listen, I think faith, if anything else, it gives people a purpose to serve. And I don't think that anybody, when they're younger, they're dreaming about turning a wrench and installing sprinkler systems or plumbing systems or maybe even building walls or doing demo or a lot of the trades. But if doing that job serves a greater purpose, i.e., your son, or
Yeah.
or serving faith, and maybe that's teaching other people a trade so that they can afford a grill and they can provide for their family, or it's starting a business that spreads wealth out and creates jobs for other people. Maybe that's the purpose. Maybe you're supposed to be in there to help the people next to you, to the left and to the right to you, and to help them make their lives better. There's a that's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this. I feel as though that this is my purpose. Before the show,
Yeah.
Brian and I were talking about his show and the growth, and they were doing 3 episodes a week. And it was like, how the hell do you do that? And now they're down to
It was a lot. Yeah.
one, and even I was struggling with one. But I feel as though that with the growth of the platform and some of the rewards that have come in my career and the people that have recognized me or kind of discovered me from doing this, that's God telling me, hey, you're doing the right thing. Keep doing it. Don't stop, because it might be something better, or maybe the purpose is being served and this is what it's meant to be. So I think finding a greater a greater purpose to serve is, the
Yeah.
answer to a lot of people's, struggles. Talk to me about going from being a young father, late teens, up through the industry. I think a lot of people are curious about what kind of money you can make, and
Yeah.
maybe even just specific to the Atlanta area. I know you do have a pulse on what's going on nationally now, but
I
what was
do.
that progression? What was that progression like? Were you always struggling, for diapers? How'd you get to the point where you could just give a grill away and feel all right about it?
Yeah.
What was that like for Brian?
Yeah. Well, guys, and I learned this, and part of the Dope and Tape show is to create a community. That's what we push for. We we mentor. I love mentoring. It's it seems, I mean, it's one of my passions as well, is to mentor. But guys, I don't know about other industries, and maybe you can touch on that a little bit. But like I said, I became an inspector in like 3 months. I got certifications. I got my level 1, my level 2, and then I called my dad, said, "Hey, I'm ready." And he said, "Okay, son." And then I went to go be my father's apprentice. And dude, if anybody just grinds and just gets after it a little bit, usually contractors will pay for education, and then you can rise a little bit of drive and a dedication will set you apart from most people. It believe it or not, and I hate to say this about like Dope and Tape, but it's a little disappointing. We give away a fire tech, which is a certification, um, like university, basically. So you take this course and it prepares you to pass your certification classes. We give one away every single episode. We now have about 400 viewers on YouTube, and then I'm sure more on Spotify and iTunes. Every single episode. No one's doing it. We have had, out of, I guess, with them for like a year and a half. We've had one person do their certification, and then they passed their certification. They did the course, passed it. Now they're making more money. So just just get you like a little grind, and you'll be good to go. You know.
So
But as far as
what's funny,
yeah,
Brian, about that? I don't think so many people talk about. I'm just taking a picture of us doing this right now, but
yeah,
so many people talk about getting careers in the trades, and there's always talk about plumbers and carpenters and electricians because that's what people know.
yeah, of course.
What they don't know is that you are offering certification in a career that pays more than those. Any
Oh,
market you
yeah,
go to, the
dude.
sprinkler fitter, it's usually the sprinkler fitter
Always.
or the elevator installer make the most money.
Well, as a seasoned inspector, I was making 40 an hour, and that is non-union, which is phenomenal. And of
Yeah.
course, I got overtime, and because I was a senior guy, at that time, I've been doing it at that point for close to 10 years. I would start work at 8 and be home at 12. Like, I'll go hammer it, especially when I got my apprentice. We didn't even have to talk. We just knew what we did and
hmm
we had a great system, and got after it, and it was a great life.
That's incredible. And I know, like, I think I shared in Boston, sprinkler fitters make 140, 150 grand a year plus
No, I think it's more. I think it's 160,
it's 160
165
now.
now.
Plus benefit,
Yeah.
and that's before the supplemental
Well,
benefits.
and it's the highest. I mean, my co-host he was a general foreman in 550 up there in Boston. Raking in the cash, dude.
And he left that job for something bigger and better, right? Not in the field.
Yeah, yeah. Again, the this gave us um, a personal brand. For example, if you're looking for a job in a manufacturer, if you're looking for another job and you want to build your own, social media is there. And you might think it's a joke, oh, being an influencer, but it matters. It gives you value. So let's say, like me, I don't have a college degree, but I have, um, now I have a reputation. I have a face for the
Mhm.
industry. I have a word of what's happening, and that gives me value. So if you can just get your certifications and then start building your personal brand of who you are, who your life will change. My life completely changed.
It's funny because I I can't always find it. I post, for those of you who don't know, go look at my Instagram page or my TikTok page. I post the salaries, and they're all prevailing wage salaries in cities throughout the country. And I always try to pick ones that have sprinkler fitters in there because I don't think that people understand what they are and how much money they
Yeah,
can make.
appreciate that.
But
Oh yeah,
they're
thank
one
you.
they're one of the only trades that no matter what the city is, can make on a 40-hour week, 50 weeks a year, which is a normal year before overtime, over 100 grand. And the biggest pushback that I always get is that, oh, well, that's prevailing wage, or, Georgia's non-union, Florida's non-union. But what I've found is that the non-union, or merit shop, as they prefer to be called, the wages often are the same. Like if you're a 5 to 10 year sprinkler fitter guy and you know what you're doing and you're an ace and you're a foreman, you can make the same wage. What you won't see is the benefits and the pension. But a lot of the
Oh
non-union
yeah,
shops now, the bigger and better ones, which you should be at if you're one of the better guys, if you're one of the better foremen, and really good at what you do. They're doing 401ks, they're doing health benefits, they're doing a lot of. I had a guy on the podcast from Arizona. They're doing a profit share, right? So he gets a bonus every
right.
year from the profit that they make on all the
Oh, that's
jobs, and
awesome.
he has stock in the company for his retirement. So yeah, it's not exactly the same as union, but it's a barometer. It is a good indicator of what you can make once you're seasoned, which only takes the same amount of time that it would take you to go get a college education and you don't have any debt, basically,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. So I got my certifications. When I was an apprentice pipe fitter, I was making, I think it was like $8 an hour.
Mm.
I got my certifications. I became my father's apprentice, and and I was making $12 an hour. I finally got my little truck. So I got my, I don't know if a backflow, which is backflow prevention for our property. I got my certification to repair and to inspect, test
And
those devices.
if you don't know what that is, just think backflow. What does that sound like? It sounds like you're trying to prevent water from going in the wrong direction.
Correct.
You only want
Yeah.
water going in and pressurizing the system. You don't want it going out. Same thing, you know, in plumbing. You wouldn't want water leaving. You wouldn't want the poop coming back up in the wrong direction. That's always the good example of a backflow preventer that I like to use. That seems to stick with people, but that's what Brian's talking about.
Yeah. So I stayed with my dad for 2 years, and and then I felt like, so I got another certification, and then, like I said, never stop learning. And I started shopping it. I was like, all right, because I know the contractor that I'm gonna be working with now might give me like $1 raise. But if I go somewhere else, I can negotiate 3 weeks of vacation. I can negotiate more money. So I usually left for about $7. So I left there and went straight to like $25 an hour. So a huge jump.
Yeah, and the median salary in the Atlanta area is about that,
That's-
right? So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
if somebody's doing 20 years doing something else, right? So again, no debt, you're already at the median, and it goes up from there. And obviously, you can tell
yeah.
Brian's career has taken him some pretty awesome places. Brian, we're coming up on an hour, and I want to do two more things. I want to get to some advice that you'd have for somebody coming in or somebody thinking about the industry. and then I'd like to give you, the floor after that. But let's start there. So, what do you say to somebody in high school, especially maybe somebody that's like a little Brian, right? A little pep in his step, feels like they're a problem, feels like they hate school, and they're thinking about the industry. What would you say to them?
I would say that the trades is the world for them, for sure. And then, I mean, you have a little bit of dog in you and you actually get after it, not just work. You have to think about work when you work in the day. Yeah, you want to give it your all. You want to be a step ahead of your foreman and you want to work hard, but you always need to be working on your next step. Like with business, for example, with dope and tape, I even have a business plan. You need to have a personal business plan. What's next? What's next? You got a certification? Great. What's next? And then that's how you progress in your career quickly instead of just sitting. Oh, all right, my job's done. I'm going to go home and then play video games. I'm going to chill. It was a great day. No, man, get after it. That's what I would say.
Yeah, it's funny too because I think one of the things that I hear most often, whether it's on social media or from the younger generation, even what I do in construction project management, it's like I don't get paid to do that. I did my job, I did it. I didn't do it stellar. I did it, in the way that it was supposed to be done.
Right.
Taking my time and working safely, and all the other excuses that they come up. And everyone should work safely, but if you're not growing, you're dying, right? And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
I think you're dead on. Like, what's the next certification? What's the next job responsibility that I can take to become a foreman, to become a road super, to become somebody that's pricing jobs, or maybe even a project manager? Or how can you learn how to sell, right? How do you take the
Yeah.
step? How do you become an inspector? How do you take a step into business development and do what Brian's doing? How do you get out of the field, hang up the tools, and go start selling, products? Maybe that's something that would appeal to you as a a path for growth in your career, especially when maybe you look at the trades and you're like, yeah, maybe that's cool for my 20s, but I don't want to be doing that into my 50s. Like, there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong
But
with
why
that.
not? You know?
And I tell people all the time, there's a lot of people that they become a foreman and then they start doing office stuff and they're like, man, not for me.
Mhm.
Just send me back in the field. Let me make my, 100 grand, 160 grand in Boston, whatever it is. And
Yeah.
that's good for me. And I don't need all the headache. You know what I mean? So the point is that the paths are endless. The growth is endless. And if you want the growth, the key either way, I think, is to always look for the next thing. Like you said, how do you improve? How do you become better?
Yeah.
Brian, is there anything else that you were hoping you got to talk about, or that you were thinking that you were hoping the conversation would cover? Before we wrap it up here.
Yeah. 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 Well, if you start in the trades, I believe it's very important. Like when you're first getting started, it doesn't matter if you're doing project management right out of college or if you start as an apprentice like me. Be curious and also really take pride in whatever you're doing. Anything. If you're sweeping the shop and you're a shop guy, take pride in that. If you got to fix a copier, which would never be me, I'll destroy it. Take pride in that. If you got to go and get pipe, um, take pride. One time I was working at the Atlanta Hartsfield Jackson Airport, and it was super cold, and the lull was being used. We couldn't have it, but there was a truck of pipe that needed to get up to the top floor, and there was only a spiral staircase that I could do it in. And then that was my job for the whole day. I made it my mission. But when you do that, when you're curious and when you actually try to improve the process, you become passionate about it, or at least for me. And then I love it. And I had a good friend on my podcast not too long ago. I think it might have been the last episode with Tom Savage, and I talked to him about my inspection career, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Loved pouring into other inspectors and helping them and talking about life. And my last day was super emotional because I was leaving something that I fell in love with. And I said this on my tag from that day is hanging up right there. with the date and the time and where it was and all that stuff. And it was bittersweet, but it was time for me to move on. My apprentice got his certifications. He was ready to rock and roll. But yeah, find the passion, fall in love with it. Don't just treat it as a job.
I love that. I love that. And to bring it full circle, if you have the purpose behind it, that's an easy way to stay motivated and stay disciplined about the passion. So Brian, I really appreciate you coming on. You're a busy guy. You're traveling. You got a family. You got a family, and you got your own. You got your own platform and your show. Tell people where can they find you? Where can they find the show? Because you guys, this is recorded. You guys do it live.
Oh, we do it live, uncensored. So whatever you say, it's there. I'm sorry. I've said some things I didn't want to say, but some stories were told. So yeah, you can find me on Instagram at retrofit Brian, and that's Brian with an I. And please say hello. If you have questions, if you want to know my opinion on something, please ask. I love to answer those. You can find me through Arco or probably Dope and Tape and Brian Williams on LinkedIn. I'm on there a lot. I post there a lot. You can just look up Dope and Tape on YouTube, and you can see us. We have over 1,600 subscribers now. We're growing, and for the fire sprinkler industry, that's a lot. That's a freaking lot in our little niche. And so it's great. You can put Dope and Tape Show or Dope and Tape on Instagram, and you can find me and Blue Collar Bobby, my co-host. So we're pretty easy to find.
Bobby's the only guy that has a better mustache than me. Just so you guys.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I just, as his partner and his business partner, and I hang out with him all the time. It just bothers me when he's like eating a burger and all that shit gets in there, and I'm like, dude.
I couldn't do it that long. The only reason I even do it, that I've had at this duration, is because my wife actually likes it.
Okay. Well, hey, dude. If the wife
good.
Is happy, keep it going.
But Bobby's going to do it now because I think it's his trademark. I think if he shaved it at this point,
it's his brand.
It's his brand. That's
it. This is how he has T-shirts and stickers with it. I mean, you can't.
It's got to keep it now.
There forever. I know.
So, Brian, I really appreciate it. Definitely go follow Brian. And again, one last time, just in case anybody's still listening, talk about that giveaway. Hammer that home.
Yeah.
What are you guys giving away every episode again?
So every single episode, we give away fire tech courses. It's through Fire Tech University, and it gets you it gives you training to learn more, or it also has certification preparedness exams, and as well as courses that you can take to get you ready, and it works. I recommend it all the time. I've used it. My pretty much everybody I know that's certified has used it.
It's awesome.
It's awesome. And you can get it for freaking free, dude. And now, I gave up on asking questions. Now I'm just like, all right, guys, who wants it? Who's going to actually do this? 'Cause I want like a screenshot of you getting your free freaking course, dude. It's free.
Yeah.
Go get some education, man.
Education in one of the highest paying niches in construction for both free.
Right.
Well, Brian, man,
so if you want to get there, you want to try it, let me know. I'll get you a course. I'll hook it up, even if I had to pay for it.
Awesome.
For
Brian,
sure.
I appreciate you coming on. Again, Construction Mentor Podcast. I'm just so happy that we get to have guys like Brian on here to share their story and spread awareness about what they can do with their life and how they can make it, they can make their dreams reality through the industry. So many paths. And we're here to share them. So, Brian, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much.